Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Self-Publishing Tips and Tricks Show, a series designed to give you insight into the world of self-publishing and marketing your books. I'm Ben Pick, and I'm joined by my co-hosts.
I'm Morgan Lee.
And I'm Shannon, writing underneath the pen name of SC Huston.
We're here today with Sarah Hualde, author of over a dozen mysteries and paranormal mysteries. We're going to ask her questions about her self-publishing journey and how she markets her work. But before we jump into the interview, do you have any news or points of interest?
The only thing that's going on with me, I'm posting a lot more over on my YouTube channel so far this year. So I'm hoping to continue that streak and put more content out. As far as my books go, I'm just going to be marketing books 1 and 2, and then gearing up for the release of book 3 later this year. And I have a couple of Instagram tours scheduled for this week. Book 1 will be touring, and then next week, book 2, and then next week, book 3, to kind of like get buzz started about the third book in the series. So that's all I got coming up.
Do you plan to talk about your marketing or the tour and everything like on your YouTube channel?
Yes. And my experiences with company is Nerdy Book Box. And then I want to talk about what I did last year with the release of book 2 when I did the Instagram tour with a different company. So I'm planning on talking about that.
Do you feel that was a success from the one from last year?
I think so. I got a lot of sales, a handful of sales on book 1 and book 2. So I think the Instagram tour helped.
Okay. Because I remember that one of our authors we interviewed last year, she had said that she did a book blog tour and it didn't seem to be very useful for her. But I didn't know if like the Instagram blog tours might be different. It's not blog tours, just an Instagram tour, book tour.
Yeah. So they just share your book and there's a giveaway. I think that works a little bit better than.
Oh, the giveaway, definitely.
Yeah.
As of the release of this video, I am plugging away at writing my words. I'm hoping by this time I should be done with my book 1 in my next series and start it on my book 2, because I'm nearly done with book 1 now. And I'm going through cycles, like I love it and then I hate it and then I love it and then I hate it. So it's been a ride so far. And of course, Morgan's giving me some awesome feedback and everything. I don't know if you saw my note back to you when I wrote you back the other day, but I was like, this is stuff I did, but I second guessed myself and I changed it. And you're like, change it to this. So like, that's what I had. So definitely got to work on that. Definitely still marketing. And the next month, I'm going to start working on trying to find reviewers for my box set, because my books have reviews on them, but my box set does not. And I want to put the box set into some marketing avenues, like the newsletter promos that you find online with different companies, but some of them require like average star rating or a couple reviews. So I'm going to be working on that next.
Nice. Yeah, as for me, I'm kind of in the same boat where I'm focusing on writing my third book and I'm sort of backfilling to market for my first and second book. And I'm also ramping up to do some in-person selling. So I've looked at a couple of libraries nearby. There's also Balticon. We brought on Rod Van Blake, I guess, a few months ago now, and I think I'm probably going to see him there, which will be really cool to go from on the other side of the counter to a seller.
So are you gonna get like all those graphics like he was talking about to get the to put around you and draw the attention?
Yeah. I'm planning on getting a couple of posters. I'm planning on getting a couple of interesting surprises for giveaways for people there in person. So we'll see how it goes.
Doing a giveaway there?
Well, like we'll have prizes. We'll have little spinny wheel or whatever. I'll have stickers, magnets, a few other things.
Oh, I've never been to like a Balticon or anything. My first actual conference I went to was the $20 to $50K back in November. And there was tons and tons of booths set up on the last day. And I didn't see anything like that. So I don't know if that's, if you saw that from somebody, but that's new for me to know.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different things there when I went last year, but there's a whole hall of people, indie publishers mostly, who are trying to, get their books out there. So there's a bunch of different strategies. I'll let you know if any of them work.
Definitely.
All right, now let's talk about our guest. She also happened to be part of the YouTube series Book Rescue, just like one of our previous interviewed people from earlier in the season, Robert G. Culp. Sarah lives in California in a home that brings her happiness and hay fever. She loves God, loves her family, and loves freshly brewed coffee. Her mom raised her on mysteries and passed down her passion for stories. Though Sarah enjoys mysteries of all kinds, she'll be the first to admit that if she were a character in her books, she would not last till chapter 2. I feel kind of the same way. I don't know how long I'd last in my own books.
Yes, I'd be dead definitely by chapter 2.
But welcome, Sarah. Would you like to take a moment to tell us a little more about yourself? Anything I missed?
You didn't miss very much. That's just who I am. I'm a homeschooling mom who writes on the side, and I'm having a blast doing it.
Cool. Well, yeah, we have a lot of questions about that. I guess I would call it, that work-life balance. And when you're kind of blending the two, I can only imagine how crazy it'll get. So we'll jump right into the questions.
Awesome.
Before we go into the self-publishing and marketing of your books, can we start at the beginning of your writing career? You're a homeschool mom who uses writing as an escape. Can you tell us how all that began for you?
Well, I've loved writing since I could write, but then once I had kids, it just didn't work. It didn't happen. They were little. I had to take care of them. It was a constant. I didn't have any brain left to write. And then I was at a homeschooling conference, and they had a extra conference to encourage moms to become bloggers. So I'm like, oh, I'll go see what that's about. And I decided to start a blog. And I think 3 posts in, I remembered how much I loved writing. And I'm like, I've got to do this more. I remember who I am now. I'm going to do this more. And I just dove in. I dared myself to write my very first book and try to publish it. And I did. And then I went on to write mysteries.
So when you decided to start writing while being a homeschool mom, did you have any misconceptions about what your life would look like?
Yes. 2 big ones. The first one is I naively and kind of stupidly assumed that once you put a book out, the money would roll in.
I feel like we all heard that.
Right. I think we can blame movies for that. I think, when people sign the document, they come in and they have these big launch parties with all these celebrities and they're all rich all of a sudden. I think we can blame movies for that. Let's just blame movies for that. But then the second one I had was, I thought it would take me years to write just one novel. And here I am 5 years later, and I've published 15. So that's kind of blew me away. I think it's because my brain does not stop and I don't sleep.
At 15 books, that's definitely an achievement, especially, balancing everything like you have.
Yeah. Yes. I think I'm crazy.
So what has been your least favorite part of your indie writing to publishing journey?
My least favorite part has been the transition from writing just for fun to becoming a business. It took a lot of mental transitioning, I don't know. It's like putting aside the dream for a minute to do things like marketing, to figure out covers, to figure out blurbs. Those things are fun in themselves, but they weren't what I envisioned when I became a writer. Like when I hit published, I didn't think I'm going to have to do all this other stuff as well. So taking writing from being the fun escape that it was, and now that it's a business, I find that it's hard to remember to refill my well, because writing used to be how I would refill. And now it's part of my business. So now I have to find other ways to refill that so that I can go back and have fun again writing.
And I think doing all the, non-writing stuff that's part of being an author business, that just kind of saps a lot of your strength. So it's hard to get back into the writing. At least that's what I found for myself last year.
Yes, exactly. Or it can become a well of just like an abyss you fall in. You could spend 4 days on Canva and not even realize you did. You can spend, 3 months making one perfect Amazon ad and not even realize you've wasted your time.
Well, with that in mind, are you comfortable discussing any publishing missteps or things you would have liked to have done differently?
So when I published my very first mystery, and let this be a lesson to anybody, I took a year to get it really refined, the best of my ability, paid the best editors I could afford at the time, had lots of critiques, a year getting it beautiful. And I hit publish. And I was so proud of my little book baby. I was so happy. And one of my friends offered to use it on her book club. So I went to this book club, and I had one very lovely, well-meaning person go, "Hey, who'd you have edit this?" And I was like, "Oh, well," and I explained the journey and everything. And she goes, "Well, you might want to, take a look at it again." And being naive and a bit arrogant, I was immediately offended and upset. And I'm like, "How dare you mock my baby?" And so I ran home, and it took me a couple weeks, but I finally looked at it and realized I had published my rough draft. So my tip is, when you hit publish, open it up immediately and read it to make sure you don't do that, because that is extremely painful to go through. Don't do that. Don't be a Sarah.
I think Shanti, our very last guest from last season, she did the same thing, and that was something she had mentioned.
It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
I could not even imagine. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
It has changed my whole publishing life. I mean, I get so stressed out right before I hit the button, and I double check, and I'll add little words in to make sure if I scroll all the way back to the manuscript and it has like the word, like latte at the end or something, I know that's the newest version and I'm publishing the right one. And then as soon as I hit publish and KDP comes up and tells me it's there, I read it to make sure it's the right one. Oh, that was horrible. Don't do that.
Well, with that, if you can only pass on one thing to an aspiring self-published author, what would it be? What would your best publishing tip or trick be?
Don't be afraid to go wide. Don't be afraid to go wide. I know 1/4 of my sales come from my wide market, but more than that, I found a lot of readers who will reach out and connect with me more and tell me they found me at libraries, tell me they found me on what are the other ones? Like my brain just shut off.
Is it like Google, Apple Books?
Yes. All those other places that aren't on Kindle. And so actually most of my most vocal fans have been from a wide market. So don't be afraid to go wide.
It's like perfect tips right now because I'm going wide this year.
It's great.
Perfect time. Yeah. All right, so we're going to transition from your publishing to your marketing. The series that you're currently working on is the Paranormal Penny Mysteries. And the first book, Grounded, Death Gives You 24 Hours Notice, is doing very well on Amazon. And I noticed that when I went to go check and look at all your different books, and it's been out for just over 2 years, which I have a book that's coming up on 2 years, but you already have several hundred reviews. So I was just wondering if you have any tips or insights about how to find more reviewers for your books.
Okay, so when I publish, I usually go to Story Origin now. I just started Story Origin with Book Rescue and I love it. And I get a lot of reviews there, but I've always used a service called Booksprout and it used to be free. And now I think it's $9 a month. And I get probably 70% of my first reviews from that service. So it knocks me up to 15 reviews easily. Then the more reviews I get from marketing it for free. And if I run a newsletter ad, I can see my reviews bump up by like 20, 30, 50 reviews. I had a BookBub on that one and I got, I believe, 300 reviews from that BookBub. So that was pretty helpful.
Which your tip to go wide would be helpful to get that BookBub.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
What marketing do you do for a new release versus something that's on your backlist?
So my backlist, I usually just focus on book one because I have 2 series. So book 1 is where I focus most of my marketing and I do Amazon ads. I do bi-monthly Story Origin newsletter swaps, that kind of thing. But when a new release comes out, I aim bigger for that book 1. I drop it down to like nothing and I get as many newsletters, promos as I can afford. Sometimes I'll try for a BookBub if I've saved up enough to try for a BookBub. And I just push number 1 as much as possible. And then I amp up my newsletter swap from like Story Origin to every week instead of every other week. And that's how I market to my newest one. That and I use the review sites. The review sites are great for getting momentum as well because you can share it more with your audience on like Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. Another thing is Book Award Pro. I've been using them and I use them for my new releases. In fact, my latest release just won an award. It just released last week and it's already won an award. So thank you. So sharing that little bit, just being nominated for that gets me a lot of readers looking at my book as well. That helps a lot for new releases.
When you said book review sites, do you remember any off the top of your head?
Okay, so I use Story Origin, Booksprout, Book Sirens is another one, and another one called Get Books Reviewed. That one, you read other people's books and review them as kind of like a swap. And so those are the places I've used. The ones that get me the most, I think, eyes on my new one, it's probably Story Origin. That gets me the most eyes on my new one.
I've heard that Book Sirens was better for romance. But you didn't find that to be the case for your books?
Well, I've never written a romance, but my books did pretty well. Yeah, my books do pretty well on it. It also links you to a lot of book bloggers who are in your genre just by going on Book Sirens. So that helped a lot too.
If you could only pass on one marketing tip or trick to self-publishing authors, what would it be?
This is a marketing tip, but it kind of sounds more personal, but tell people you're a writer. Don't think you're not. Don't sit there questioning that, oh, am I a writer because I don't have this many books published or I don't have this. If you're writing, you're a writer. If you're published, you're an author. Tell people, tell your friends, introduce yourself that way. Yeah, do that.
I think that was another tip from our last author of last season. And she was like, as soon as you know you're writing, tell everybody, tell them about what you're writing about, so get it out there. Don't wait until your book is ready to publish. I honestly didn't feel I could do that. Even when I knew I probably should, when I first started with my first book, I was like, but it's not out there yet. Who's going to care about it? I don't have an audience. But
I still don't do that enough. I have friends that do that for me. My advice for everybody is advice that I have to take too. I don't do it enough either.
Right. Do as I say, not as I do.
Exactly.
All right. So we're going to move from your marketing life now to your writing life. And the main thing I'm really blown away about is how you are a homeschool mom and, doing all this stuff, because I was a homeschool mom for a year. That was all I could handle. So I know how much that can be. So being both a homeschool mom and a writer, they're both lonely pursuits. So what do you do to stay sane?
I've never claimed to be sane. No, no, but I do a lot of praying, and then I find people to be around. I'm an introvert, but I make myself go out and be around people. So we join things like homeschooling co-ops. That way my kids get friends and I get to meet mothers who help me out. And I have friends that hold me accountable. In fact, I have a group of about 5 friends who, if I get in the big writing abyss and I'm just only in my story, they will literally call me and go, you need to come up for air. There's a real life happening. And so I do, and I go out and do that stuff with them. But things like co-ops and my faith have helped a lot. Plus, my family is super supportive, so they help a lot too.
Does a writing life make its way into the lessons that you teach, from writing and English skills to more fundamental lessons like time management or conveying of ideas?
Yes, sir, it does. I didn't realize how much of my homeschool was based around story and writing until I stepped back, and I actually work at the co-op teaching kids, high school students and junior high kids, how to write mysteries. And that's one of my favorite parts of my week, is teaching them how to write mysteries. But we are a very story-centered household. We have always read books. We've always discussed books. We have always come up with play stories to do with one another. We are just stories all the way around. And so it comes into everything from them writing their own novels, which both of my kids have done, them participating in Nano with me. Both of my kids have won Nano for the Young Writers Program. So it leaks into everything. In fact, they're kind of like my story coaches. If I'm stuck, I'm like, hey, I need to get this person to leave her purse and this person to steal it. How am I going to make that happen? And they'll help me figure it out.
I think that's really awesome that it's like the whole family pitches in to help with it.
Yeah, it's fun. We have a lot of fun.
You kind of answered my next question a little bit about your children and how they help you with your story. So they help you when you get stuck on anything, and do you possibly give them extra credit in their schoolwork?
No.
Give you no.
I'm a mean teacher. I'm mean. I'm strict. No, I'll give them extra credit for stories that they write, but when they help me, it's more for fun. So it's more like while we're driving in the car talking. So they don't get extra credit for it. But my son did name my paranormal Penny. He named her Penny Nichols because he thought that was hilarious, Penny Nichols. So he named her. I'll give him full credit for that.
I love that, Penny Nichols.
He thought that was a hoot.
And it's, it's kind of unique in a way. So, and it kind of, you write, they're more cozy mysteries, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So that falls like right in there. It's kind of like that tongue-in-cheek kind of humor.
Yes, it does.
So can you tell us what you're working on next, and whatever it is with your book or whatever, and when it might come out?
So I just released book 7 in the Paranormal Penny series last week. And so the rest of the year, I have my other series, which is a Christian suspense series, is going to release its 7th book in the summer. And then I have a Paranormal Penny short that will be releasing in September sometime. And those are already written. They're just in edits right now. And hopefully I get to start a new series this year, writing it, not releasing it yet, but just playing with it.
That's exciting. So the short that you said for your Penny series, is that just to like tide your fans over, or what was your thinking going into that?
Well, I've already have one short with Penny. So I wanted to make holiday themed ones, but I decided to make them shorts instead of full books. So this will be a Halloween book instead of my last one was a Christmas book. So it's just for fun.
Nice, yeah. And then I've been thinking about doing some short stories this year and releasing them a little bit here and there. And then maybe at some point I'll put them all into one anthology and sell that as well.
That's smart. I like to use mine as
reader magnets.
Yes, ma'am. Reader magnets. Yeah.
So one thing a tip I had heard, and I heard this on another podcast, is that, if you offer something as a reader magnet, maybe not so much should you sell it, But what you can do is like, you know how they can see the preview of the first few pages, right? So you put right there in the very front of the preview, if you would like this reader magnet for free, or if you would like this story for free, join my newsletter list. And I was
There
like,
you go.
I'm going to do that.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Now we'd like to try something a little different. We're going to do a round robin of rapid fire questions where you answer each question as quickly as possible. And feel free to skip any that you don't want to answer. So are you ready for the game?
I'm as ready as I will be.
What comes first for you? The characters, the setting, or the plot?
Characters.
Are you a morning or a night writer?
Night writer.
Planner, pantser, or plantser?
Plantser.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Complete the sentence. The best thing about writing is
My characters.
Favorite book to write?
Ooh, I can't.
Well,
That
probably
was
the
too
same
hard.
thing, but
The one I'm writing right now.
easiest answer.
least favorite book to write.
Can't do that one either. I love them all.
Fair.
And your favorite paranormal mystery novel?
Ooh, I like the Angie Fox Southern Ghost Hunter series.
Well, you have answered all of our questions. Before we wrap up, please tell listeners where they can find you or purchase your books.
Okay, so I'm wide. You can get me at all the ebookish places that you can find. I have a few on audiobook as well. And you can find me on YouTube under Sarah the Late Night Copy Mom or at my website, sarahhualde.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us today and giving us your insight and experience. This has been wonderful. And I will definitely look at some of those review sites to try and get some better numbers. So Story Origin, Booksprout, all that.
Yeah, good.
It's
They're
wonderful for you to
very
share.
helpful. Yeah, anything I can do to share. Thank you guys so much. I had fun.
Thank you for coming on, and thank you so much to our listeners and viewers. March 1st, we're actually interviewing our very own Ben Pick, who will give us insight into being a new author in today's market. And that's all for today. So goodbye, everybody.
Bye.